It's the universal question, isn't it? You get paid, you feel absolutely amazing for a few days, and then, well, suddenly you're staring at your bank account wondering, wait, where did it all go? If you've ever felt that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, trust me, you are not alone. Between inflation and that sneaky, creeping cost of all our subscriptions, managing money right now is a genuine struggle for so many of us.
But hey, what if I told you that getting your money organized doesn't actually require a finance degree? Or, a massive color-coded spreadsheet that makes you dizzy just looking at it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to unpack the 50-30-20 budgeting framework. Think of this as the super approachable, incredibly friendly antidote to budgeting anxiety. It's just a simple, straightforward way to finally take back control of your paycheck.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet the 50-30-20 rule. Second, we'll define needs and wants. Third, we're doing the math. Fourth, we'll cover the pros, cons, and roadblocks. And fifth, we'll wrap up with some smart budgeting alternatives.
Part 1. Meeting the 50-30-20 rule. So this framework was actually popularized back in 2006. It originated from the book All Your Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan, which was co-authored by Elizabeth Warren and her daughter Amelia Warren Tyagi. Now, after 2 decades of research, they proposed this beautifully simple starting point for budgeting beginners. The whole core premise is that you take your after-tax income, so that's the money that actually hits your bank account after Uncle Sam takes his share, and you just divide it into 3 distinct categories. And the breakdown itself is brilliantly simple. Half of your take-home pay, so exactly 50%, goes strictly to your needs. 30% goes toward your wants, and finally, the remaining 20% is completely dedicated to your savings and your financial goals. And honestly, that's it. That's the entire formula. Moving right along to part 2, defining our needs and wants. First up, we've got the biggest slice of the pie, your needs, capping out at 50% of your income. These are your absolute essentials, okay? These are the survival costs that you non-negotiably have to pay just to keep your life running smoothly. We're talking about your housing, so your rent or your mortgage. We're talking about basic groceries, your utility bills like water and electricity, transportation costs to get to work, insurance premiums, and, really importantly, your minimum debt payments. Now notice I said basic groceries there, not the luxury organic aisle every single day. The goal here is to keep these strict essentials at or below half of what you make. Next up, we move to the fun stuff, your wants. This gets 30% of your budget. And honestly, this category is so crucial because it allows you to actually enjoy your life. Budgeting shouldn't be about total deprivation, right? Treating yourself prevents what we call budget burnout, kind of like how a cheat meal keeps a strict diet on track. Your wants include dining out, all those streaming subscriptions you've got going, your hobbies, vacations, designer clothes, and yes, even your gym membership. These are lifestyle choices. They absolutely enhance your life, but you could technically survive without them. By allocating a full 30% here, you get to treat yourself without a single ounce of guilt, knowing you aren't sacrificing your financial stability to do it. The final 20% goes toward savings and goals. This is how you build a stable, long-term financial future for yourself. This bucket covers building up an emergency fund so something like a popped tire doesn't completely ruin your month. It covers contributing to your retirement like a 401k or a Roth IRA, putting money into investments, and making extra payments on high-interest debt beyond those bare minimums we talked about earlier. All right, part 3, let's actually do the math. Let's anchor this whole concept with some real-world numbers so we aren't just talking in the abstract. Imagine you sit down, you look at your paychecks, and your total after-tax take-home pay for the month is exactly $5,000. Now, what's really interesting here is when you translate those percentages into actual hard dollars, the balance becomes incredibly clear. On a $5,000 income, 50% means a strict $2,500 for rent and groceries. But look at the wants. You get a highly generous $1,500 to spend on restaurants and hobbies totally guilt-free, all while still stashing away a solid $1,000 every single month for your future. Part 4. The pros, the cons, and the roadblocks. Time for a little reality check. Because look, one of the biggest roadblocks with the 50-30-20 rule is income predictability. If you are a standard income earner with predictable, regular monthly paychecks, this rule is delightfully convenient to set up. But if you are a freelancer, an hourly worker with a shifting schedule, or a gig worker with non-standard project income, well, doing this math every single month can be incredibly difficult because your 100% baseline is just constantly changing. And we absolutely have to acknowledge the elephant in the room here, inflation. As one of our sources from Harvard FCU points out, at a moment in which costs are rising, some households may find that it's frankly impossible to cover all their needs with just 50% of their income. If you live in a city with sky-high rent or grocery prices have just spiked in your area, I really want to assure you that it is perfectly normal if necessities eat up way more than half of your budget. You aren't failing at budgeting. You are just dealing with reality.
But that is exactly why you can and honestly should adjust this framework. This rule is a flexible, forgiving guide, not some strict law of the universe. If 50% just isn't cutting it for your rent and groceries, simply tweak the ratio. A really common adjustment is the 60-20-10 split. You bump your needs up to 60%, you scale your wants back slightly to 20%, and you still manage to put 10% away for savings. The whole key here is finding a percentage breakdown that actually fits your unique current reality.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Smart Budgeting Alternatives. First, let's look at a close cousin of our main rule, the 70-20-10 rule. Instead of agonizing over whether a specific purchase is a need or a want, this method just throws them all into the same bucket. You spend 70% of your income on everything you need and want for the month. Boom, done. Then you put 20% into savings and investments, and the final 10% goes toward extra debt payments, donations, or gifts. It is a fantastic option if you want to streamline your finances without overthinking every single swipe of your debit card. Now, if you prefer something a bit more hands-on, there are other incredibly popular methods out there. Zero-based budgeting means every single dollar is assigned a specific job until your income minus your expenses equals exactly zero. It's meticulous. What about the cash envelope system? Highly visual. You actually put physical cash into labeled envelopes for groceries, dining, things like that, and when the envelope is empty, you literally stop spending. Or there's the pay yourself first rule, where you immediately transfer your savings goal out of your account on payday, and then you just freely spend whatever's left over. So the really crucial point here is that regardless of which method you end up choosing, the setup process is remarkably similar. It's just a pragmatic, highly actionable 4-step plan. Step 1, calculate your exact after-tax income. Step 2, categorize your past wants expenses just to see where you currently stand. Step 3, check your autopay. Seriously, go cancel those creeping streaming subscriptions you never watch. And step 4, track your spending moving forward and just adjust your percentages as your life changes. Which leaves us with the ultimate question for you to ponder. How does your current spending actually stack up against the formula? The absolute best thing you can do right now, today, is to pull up your last month's bank statement, do some quick math, and see what your own personal pie chart looks like. Are your wants creeping up to 50%? Are your savings sitting at a flat zero? Awareness is always the very first step. Embrace the structure, find the percentages that work for you, and proactively begin your personal budgeting journey today. You've totally got this.